everybody, my name's Mrs. B and I'm an art teacher. Now as an art teacher, it's very important for me to teach students all about the art elements. Now the art elements are the things that artists put into their artworks to make them interesting or unique. Now there are a lot of different art elements, but today we're going to have a really close look at the art elements of line, colour, texture and shape. And we're going to put them together in our very own flower kind of artwork. Now I'll be teaching you all about these art elements so that you understand them in order to create your own artwork. So come with me and let's do some art element learning and creating. The first thing you'll need for this task is a piece of paper. I'm using some craft card from Zart Art, however you can just use a normal white piece of paper. I'm working on an A3 size. The other things you'll need is a grey lead to draw with, you'll need a Sharpie or some sort of fine liner for some darker details, and I've written here whatever you have. This is a fantastic task that you can adapt with whatever you have at home. That means you could use textures if you have them, watercolours. I'll be using some really cool colour sticks, which is almost like paint in a pen. They're from Zart Art as well, but you literally can adapt this to whatever you have at home. So let's get started. All right, wonderful people. So for today, we are going to create a beautiful artwork based around 4 art elements. We're going to chat about the art elements first so we understand them and then put them into a beautiful artwork. So I'm going to use a piece of Zart Art craft card today. You could just use a piece of A3 white paper if you prefer. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually fold the paper in half, like this, and then in half again, like this. This is going to section your piece of paper into 4 quarters, 4 equal sides. Now, before I do any artwork on the front, let's have a chat about the art elements on the back. So there are more than 4 art elements, but today we're going to talk about line, shape, texture, and colour. Now, the way I explain art elements to the students that I teach, it's like if I were a chef and if I wanted to make a cake, I'd need to put in a whole bunch of ingredients like eggs, flour, sugar, different things into my bowl, mix it all together, and hopefully in the end turn out to have a really yummy cake. Just like a chef puts ingredients into a meal, an artist might put art elements in to create an artwork. So I'm going to turn my artwork back over, and the first thing I'm going to do is get something, a circle here. I've got some masking tape, you might use a bowl, something circular that I'm going to trace around. I've put my circle right in the middle of my page. And I'm using a permanent marker first of all. You could use a pencil, however, if you felt more comfortable starting with a pencil. Now, a circle could become so many different things. It could become a person, it could become a snowman, it could become a sun, it could become a flower. Today, we're going to be creating an artwork that is a flower. So I'm going to use this circle here and then do the petals all the way around. Now, as I said, you could draw this with a pencil first, but I'm just going to go straight ahead and draw petals like this. Nice, big, bold shapes. If you're wanting to do a sun, you might just choose to draw straight lines coming out from the circle all the way to the edge of the paper like this. It would be a similar kind of effect. So try to be as neat as you can. Now you can see using a permanent marker really makes my lines stand out nice and boldly. So for each of these quarters, each of these sections, I'm going to explore an art element for each. So let's first talk about the art element of line. It's amazing, line is one of the most important ones, I really think, because you really can't make an artwork without a line. Whether the line is straight, whether it's wobbly like this, whether it's swirly like this. Lines have expression. Sometimes they can even have emotion, like I might be angry if I use zigzags. Lines can even join together to create shapes. A shape is just a closed loop line like this. You can use shape in this way, cross-hatching, to create tone or value within an artwork, creating dark areas. Line is super important, and the amount of lines is continuous. It goes on and on and on. You could just draw different lines forever and ever. A line is literally just a mark, and Paul Klee once said that a drawing is just a line taking a walk. So let's have a go at creating a section just here with lots of different lines. Now, as I said, you can do this task using whatever you have at home. So if all you have at home is some colored textures, if all you have at home is a pen, you might choose to just explore within this box here all the different lines that you can think of. So maybe you could even use each of these petals as a way of exploring different types of line. Now, this is probably going to be the most time-consuming and detailed of the boxes, but it does depend on how much effort you want to show. You can see here I'm doing some different size zigzags with a thin sort of fine liner marker here. And hopefully what you can notice is how changing the lines, for example, if I do some wobbly lines here, it really changes the style of the artwork. Sometimes it changes the type of mood of the artwork as well. So spend some time now creating some detailed, interesting, decorative lines in each of the sections, including a quarter of this circle here, and if you want to go even further, some lines in the background as well. Maybe if you're in a class today, you can start to come up with a whole bunch of adjectives or descriptive words for the type of lines that you're using. For example, I'm going over some of these triangles here to create my lines in a more thick or bold way. You can see that they're different to the ones next to it. Now, the effort that you put in with this part of the task is really, really important. You know, what you put in is what you get out of this. So if you were just to sort of say, okay, there are some circles, I'm done, and you don't put in the care and time that's necessary, your artwork will reflect that, and it might not be something that you're particularly proud of if you're not going in and really taking your time. It's an opportunity to add detail, it's an opportunity to show creativity. You can see I'm doing some really small, neat lines here, lines that are creating shapes. And my messy ones, if I've made a mistake, I might take that as an opportunity to try to turn my mistake into a masterpiece. So I might try to pretend or make a way to make it look like that it was meant to be there in the first place. Trying to hide my mistake in a way, just like this. So hopefully no one notices it was a mistake. It's a creative thinking kind of challenge. But it does take effort, it does take time, it does take commitment to the task. But I think you'll be proud of the outcome if you do. So notice I've had to split this petal in half because I'm only decorating this quarter of my page. This part here, rest of the petal, is going to become a different art element that I'll focus on there. Now, part of doing an artwork that shows detail is thinking about what can I add? something I mention to my students quite a bit when I'm teaching. For example, I've drawn some lines here, but if I think to myself, well, what can I add? Maybe I might go back in and add some patterns or details to these sections here to fill each space with something interesting, so that the viewer, anyone looking at my artwork, has a lot to notice, has a lot to look at, and moves their eye around the page because of all the detail that's in it. You can continue on with your black if you prefer, but I am still exploring lines. So no matter what I do in the back here, I am going to still create interesting line patterns, just this time with some colour. There, I think I'm done with the line section. Alright, I'm going to flip over again, and this time we're going to have a chat about colour. Now, colour is my favourite of all the art elements because I just think we should live our lives in colour and be as colourful as possible. But colour doesn't just mean use every colour, it means having a think about how colours work together and how colours actually have relationships. For example, if you use these three colours together, they make us think of things that are warm, like fire and the sun. That's why they're called warm colours. Alternatively, if you use these colours together, they're called cool colours, and they make us think of things that are cold, like a forest or an ocean. You could also choose to use the primary colours together. These are the brightest, most basic of all the colours, and they're actually the starting colours. Every other colour is made using just these three basic colours. So colours actually work together and have relationships. You can use harmonious colours. They are colours that are next to each other on the colour wheel. So this is our very basic colour wheel with 6 colours in it. We've got the 3 primary colours and then the 3 secondary colours that they make when they mix together. Now, colours that are next to each other, like orange and yellow, for example, they're called harmonious colours. Any colours that are opposite each other on the colour wheel, like blue and orange, they're called complementary or contrasting colours. And they're also another colour relationship. So maybe after having a chat and having a think about colours and how they work together, you could choose a colour relationship for your colour portion of your flower. Now, you can use anything that has colour. You could continue to use textures if you want to. You could use some watercolours. Today, I'm going to have a go at using these really cool colour sticks from Zart, just to show you what happens and how bright and exciting they are. And the colour relationship I'm going to use today, I love the primary colours. So I'm just going to use these 3 colours. And I'm just going to stay within my quarter here. You can see how bright and vibrant these colour sticks are. They're like drawing with paint. It's almost like drawing with a lipstick. They're so silky smooth. My primary colour section of the flower. Cool. So let's turn over. And now we're going to have a chat about shapes. Now, a shape seems to be a fairly obvious one. We talked about it before with line. A shape is literally just a closed line that connects together. But there are actually 2 different types of shapes. The type of shapes that you might think of straight away might be the type that you learn about in maths. Geometric shapes like squares, triangles, circles, rectangles. They're geometric. But if a shape is just a closed line, that means I could do any type of line, couldn't I? Like this. I'm going to close that line. Now, this wobbly random shape is not a geometric shape. It's not the type of shape that we know. It's called an organic shape. An organic shape is just a shape that might be more so derived from nature, like a leaf, or literally could be just a random line that's closed up like this. So you could either choose to use organic shapes or geometric shapes, or even a bit of both in your shape section. I might have a go at just showing different types of shapes with my thin markers again. And I'm going to fill my petals with geometric shapes, and then I might fill the background with organic shapes. So remember, when you're doing shape, you could do shapes inside shapes. Do concentric circles, inside circles, inside circles. I might do another one here. And maybe we might notice the difference when using an artwork that has geometric shapes compared to organic ones. Now, an artist that loved shape and actually started a movement called Cubism was Pablo Picasso, and he used to create artworks using basic shapes. Don't forget the inside. Now to organic shapes. This is the fun part. Wobble, wobble. Just remember, whenever you create a crazy line, to close it. Otherwise it's not a shape. An artist that absolutely loved organic shapes was a man named Henri Matisse. And he loved to explore shape in all its form. Something I might do just to add a bit of colour is I'm just going to use my watercolour paints here to just add a layer of colour over the top. That's just what I'm choosing to do. You guys don't have to. There. Shape. All right, the lucky last thing we need to chat about is texture. Texture simply means how something feels, or how something looks like it feels. So an artist that loved to use texture in their artwork was a man named Vincent van Gogh. He used to apply paint so thickly that it would actually be bumpy, and if you were to touch it, you would be able to feel a texture. It's called impasto painting, and he was really good at it. Now, I could do that today to show texture, but I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do something called implied texture. Implied just means that it looks like it has texture, even though it actually doesn't. We're going to use lines, maybe like this, to make each section within my flower look like it has a different texture. For example, these little lines could look like the fur of a dog or grass. I could use spiky texture. Looks like if I were to touch that, ow, I would hurt myself. So you could think of a whole lot of different textures that you might see within a day and see if you could try to draw them. This is a tricky one. Alternatively, what you could actually do is glue things that actually had texture. For example, you could go down to the beach and get a little bit of sand, put some glue down and stick some actual texture onto your artwork. That'd look pretty cool. So as you can see, line really is probably the most important art element of all, because we've actually used lines to create shapes, and now we're even using lines to create texture. You can use lines to create tone as well. So line really simply is so important in art. So as you can see here, I've been working away at my implied texture. I've done some spiky kind of triangles here. I've done some furry dog hair here. I've done some sort of grains of a wooden tree here. I've done some spikes here as well, like on a cactus. And this is some scales of a fish. So now for my lucky last area here, I might just do some rocks. So there you have it. An art element, artwork exploration. We've got colour, line, shape, and texture. I really hope you've enjoyed learning all about the art elements today and putting them into your very own awesome artwork. I'd love to see if you've done this task, so please make sure that you tag me at Artlife Art Lessons on Facebook, because I'd really love to see what you've done with the task. Art teachers, please make sure that you let me know if you've had a go at this task and how it went, because I'd love to get some feedback. Hope you have an awesome day and really enjoyed this activity. See you later.